All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the podcast, All Things Generic, with your host, Generic himself. Just kidding. You can't call me generic. Only my mama can call me generic. I am your host, Eric. Welcome back to the podcast. Really appreciate you joining. Today's going to be a fun episode. I finally broke the plateau, which we're going to talk about. We're also going to talk about some of the things that didn't go well, like my wild celebration that made absolutely no sense of breaking my plateau. And we're also going to talk about this idea of long obedience in the same direction. What in the world? What does that mean? What? Huh? Long obedience in the same direction? That sounds, well, it's interesting and it's very applicable to the podcast. So, gear up. We're going to do a week in review, talk about what went well, what didn't go well, and how we're going to aim for better. And then we'll dive into the topic of this long obedience in the same direction. Eric, you're crazy. But first, all right, that's getting old. Never mind. So, with that, let's get on to the weekly recap. Let's get into what went well this week. Well, I kind of already spoiled the first big one. But hey, I finally broke through my weight plateau. I've been stuck at 353 for the last month. And Friday morning, I weighed in at 350 pounds. Woohoo! Yes, I finally have broke through that plateau. Although ironically, probably not. But we'll talk about that when I got to what didn't go so well. So yeah, I finally did it, man. It was hard too. But I really had to step up the game this week. I really had to tighten up the diet, and I couldn't be as loose as I've been in the last month because, like I said last time, what got you here isn't going to get you there. So I've gotten down, I've lost 50 pounds this year. Well, if I want to get lower, I'm going to have to do things differently. I'm going to have to tighten up the diet. I'm going to have to step up the exercise. So that was exciting. That was relief, I guess you could say, that, man, that scale was finally moving again. Now, look, let me pause here and say that the scale isn't the only thing that matters, right? I felt good, too. I was also noticing, had drinks with a friend Thursday night. It's like, I don't have pain when I'm walking around. I can move. Like this, I feel different. I feel so much better. So there is that. Although, let's be honest, the scale does matter because 350 pounds for me at 5'7", not a healthy weight. Not a healthy weight. So we've got to get that down. And we're working on it. We are working on it. That's why we're doing this podcast. That's why we are every day thinking about what it is that we can do better, how we can get a little bit better each day. So that went well. I broke through the plateau. Congratulations to myself. Secondly, I did cardio. So aiming for better. For the last couple of weeks, I've said I'm going to do at least one day of cardio. Well, Monday, I did cardio in the afternoon. I was sitting around. I remember one Monday night. I was like, well, I could do it, or I could not do it. I could put it off. But I'd also made a little challenge with my friend over in Ireland that I work with. He needed to start strength training, and I told him I need to do cardio. He actually runs marathons. I have been doing a little bit better on the strength training side because I enjoy it, and he's doing better on the cardio side. It's like, man, if we could unite our powers, we could be a super person. Okay, I didn't really say that, but it was funny in my head before I said that, so if it wasn't funny, just forget that I said that. But anyway, we challenged each other, said, all right, next week, let's see who can start the one that we don't like first. He doesn't like strength training, I don't like cardio. And we both did it on Monday. Technically, he's in Ireland, so, he's ahead of me a bit, so I think he technically won. But in the long run, I think we both won. We both started doing something that was tons of fun. So, yeah, did cardio. So next week, we're going to actually step that up a bit. We're going to go for 2, since I proved to myself I can do 1. Let's do 2 days where we do some cardio. What else went well this week? Workouts. Man, my workouts this week were strong. I was very much into them. I even added things to the workout. So I've been doing a workout with a friend, or I'm doing a friend's workout. We're not working out together, uh, but that's also maybe something I should talk about. We'll put a pin in that. But I added things to the workout for leg days. For example, I have a sled. Oh, I could actually add the picture to that. So I have a sled that I use. It's called a Prowler. I think I got that from Titan Fitness. I don't remember. But it's one of my favorite, actually, leg exercises to do. And it's been sitting in the corner of the garage, and I finally said, you know what? It's leg day. Let's do it. So, busted it out, and holy crap, was it a leg burner. Tons of fun. I was so glad I did that. And then on back day, I hadn't been doing deadlifts. I have a love-hate relationship with deadlifts. I'm terrified that I'm going to break my back because the form, you've got to be so precise with the form. But I know what the form is. I've been working with people, and they've been helping me, making sure I have good form. So I said, you know what? It's time to step it up. We need to add deadlifts back into the workout schedule. So I added those back, and man, it just felt great. And one day I added shrugs because I want to get those big traps. I don't know if that's going to be possible or not, but that's the goal. So yeah, just a really good week of workouts. I was really, really happy, really pleased with how they went. Again, we've talked about this on a couple different episodes, but the workouts in the morning, they feel like a non-negotiable now. It's what I do from 7 to 8 in the morning. I'm going to be working out. Tuesday I missed because I had to go to the doctor to get some labs done. But Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, bam, in the gym, in the garage, working out. It was great. Last week I also talked about how I wanted to enjoy the pool more. You just get out and enjoy it. And I did that a couple times. Actually, over the weekend, after I recorded this, I was probably in the pool more than I have been in a really long time. So that was super fun, super encouraging that I actually got out and did that. So yay, good for me. And then Wednesday night battle that I won. Oh, that's a good one. Let's dive a little bit deeper into that. The Wednesday night battle. What happened there? All right, so the Wednesday night battle that I won. This was significant. It felt significant anyway. After dinner, and I had a long day. I think I don't remember the day actually, but I'd eaten a healthy dinner. I had grilled some chicken thighs and did some corn, some steamed corn. Had a really good eating day up to that point. But I had done some grocery shopping. I think it was earlier that day, or it may have been the day before. I don't remember. And of course, there was that temptation of, ooh, let's get something sweet that you can just snack on after dinner because it makes you feel good and you enjoy it and you want it, and all the BS that normally goes through the mind with that. So I'm sitting there Monday or Wednesday night, and I finished my dinner and I'm watching YouTube or whatever it is that I was doing. And there was a temptation. It was a carrot cake. It was the carrot cake. I can put it back up here and I can show you guys. It's so embarrassing. And again, it's not the entire cake that I eat. It's the frosting and yeah, that battle. So, and actually I had done that already Monday night. Monday night I had indulged. So there I was Wednesday, and I'm sitting there. It's like, okay, let's go do it. Why not? Let's go do it. You already did it Monday night. Why don't you do it again Wednesday night? You worked hard today, so you deserve it. You earned it. All the things that your brain or whatever it is, this voice is trying to tell you that, hey, you can do it. This is okay. This is okay. Do it. Do it. Do it. Stupid voice. But yeah, so I just sat there, and one of the things I remember doing specifically was recalling how I felt after eating the cake, because I don't feel good. My stomach gets bloated, and it's not a comfortable feeling. It's oof. Sure, the sweetness tasted good, for the couple seconds while I was eating it, but afterwards I feel bloated and ugh. And so I recalled that on Wednesday night as I was sitting there. I was like, wow, do I do I really want to go through that feeling again? Like, I've had such a good day. I feel like I'm making some good progress. Do I really, really want to do that? And then I thought about, okay, well, what are my goals? What am I trying to do? Well, I'm trying to break this stupid plateau. And what got me here isn't going to get me there. So I've got to make some changes. And if I do this again, I'm just pushing this down. I'm just pushing that challenge down the street. Like, I'm going to have to face this at some point. And this was probably a good 45 minutes to an hour. Like, it wasn't a short, oh, hey, go do this. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. It probably was a good 45 minutes to an hour where I was sitting in my recliners, like almost like the two little, I wonder if I could get those, the two little, the angel and the devil on your shoulder. If I could do that, put them here, Eric, if you can figure it out. But yeah, it felt like an hour-long battle. And finally, I remember thinking, okay, well, I need to take some contrary action. I need to do something to get myself out of this because, willpower is diminishing. It's a diminishing thing. It's not a never-ending thing that you have. So I think I ended up getting a popsicle, something to kind of satiate the sweetness a little bit, and it's a sugar-free one, so it's not, so I don't have to worry about that. But yeah, like Monday or Wednesday night, I did it. I was able to navigate that. I really had an honest conversation with myself. I didn't do it compulsively, where it's like, okay, well, I thought about it, so I might as well do it. And that was huge. And it remained that way all week until we'll get to Friday night, which is going to be part of what didn't go well because I'm a bonehead and just these well-worn patterns that are hard to break. So with that, that's a great transition. I think in the business they call that a segue. What a great segue into what didn't go well this week. Let's talk about it. What didn't go well this week? So I still have some sweets at night. We talked about it we talked about Monday night. Didn't go well. Friday night didn't go well. I'm actually recording this podcast on a Saturday, and I would say my weekends, I might be a little too loose with them. Usually I'm not as strict as I am during the week. Today I've had fast food twice. I had let's be honest. I had 2 chicken burritos for breakfast at Chick-fil-A this morning. I was on my way back from Lowe's, and I thought I was about to do a lot of manual labor, and I was going to really work the calories off. Ended up through a series of events and just my luck with projects that it stalled. So didn't do that. Thought I solved it. Went out to get something and came back and I was hungry. So I stopped at Sonic and I got a supersonic double cheeseburger and small fry. I didn't get the large one, but I did get a sweet tea as well. So not great. It's not great. Today hasn't been great, but it's not a pattern. It's not, I don't feel tempted to go and eat fast food a whole bunch. And actually, I really didn't like how the food tasted anyway. So the palate is changing, which is nice. But my weekends might be a little too loose. I think I need to tighten up a bit. Because I hit my plateau and I guarantee that I'm going to probably put on a pound. Well, maybe not. Maybe not, because I'm pretty active. I don't know. I need to tighten up my weekends. What else didn't go so well? So I would say my Friday night meal, I ended up having just some meatballs for dinner, and I had them late. It was like 8 o'clock. That's not true. I also had some just hot dogs, plain hot dogs, earlier in the day, probably around 4. So just not very healthy. Not terrible. Wasn't a binge. But not on the plan, not on the goal. And man, I just hit the plateau. What in the world am I doing? Well, speaking of what in the world am I doing, what is the last thing up here? I celebrated with cookies. Yeah, you heard that right. I celebrated with cookies. I was excited about hitting the plateau. What do? I order some peanut butter cookies and I eat all of them. 2 dozen over the course of 2 days. last night and today. That's right. I celebrated by eating 2 dozen cookies. These well-worn patterns. I mean, it's you have to laugh. If not, maybe you'll cry. I need to find something else to celebrate with. Like, why? 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 Why do I do that? Yeah, it's fascinating. I don't get it. I don't get it. I mean, I do get it. I understand these are well-worn paths, as we talked about. It's kind of muscle memory, right? Like, I all my life I've celebrated with food, and so I've got to figure out a different celebration. Hey, if you got any ideas for me, drop me a comment. Would love it if you're liking this podcast, could you hit the like button for me? Could you subscribe too? That would be amazing. I would greatly appreciate that. So yeah, I celebrated with eating cookies. I'm embarrassed to tell you that. But like we talk about, shame can't hide in the light. So bringing it into the light. It's funny. It's funny. But there's the thought that, which I think I've talked about before, is that sometimes I can feel guilty if I'm not doing everything I can to lose weight, or if I get off for one meal or whatever. Now, part of that is maybe even a little bit of fear, because I know that it's a slippery slope for me, and I could easily go back down a road that I don't want to go down. So there's that. But I don't have to be on the game all the time. I mean, I'm doing this for me. I'm not doing this for anybody else. This is for me. There's no expectations that are on me. I'm not being graded. My performance isn't being tracked, other than the fact that I'm doing this podcast and I'm telling you all every week what's going on in my life. But other than that, the thing that is important is making progress over perfection. And so when I do feel guilty like that, I can't let that spiral, which I think I've done a pretty good job of not letting that happen. So anyway, so that was my celebration. That was my boneheaded celebration. That was my, all right, got to find a new way to celebrate Eric celebration, because that doesn't line up with your goals. What are you doing? Smooth transition. Insert smooth transition here. Just kidding. I'm not inserting anything. That's just the awkward transition into long obedience in the same direction. What in the world am I talking? What do you mean long obedience in the same direction? What? You sound like a crazy man. Well, I agree. I do sound like a crazy man sometimes, but this one has actually stuck with me for years. So this thought came back to me because a friend of mine, he and I had been talking. We hadn't talked in a while, actually, and he had been just through some life changes and needed someone to talk to. He actually might come on the podcast too, and we may talk about what I'm about to talk about in a little bit more detail, because I think that might be interesting as we talk through life changes. But anyway, I told him about my weight loss journey and what I've been doing and all that good stuff, and he's trying to get back down in weight as well. And again, we've known each other for about 20 years, so we both have our histories are well known to one another. So, and I'm pretty sure he wouldn't mind me sharing this. I'm not attributing anyway, so you have no idea who I'm talking about. No, you have no idea. It's impossible for you to find out. Well, maybe not impossible. Don't try. That would be weird. Anyway, so my friend was motivated and said, man, this is inspiring. I need to do this. I need to get back in the gym. And so they sent me a text and they said, hey, I'm at 218 pounds. My goal is to get down to 193. I need to lose 25 pounds of fat. I need a 1,500 deficit daily to get to 193. 1,500 seems a little bit much. That's 1,000 calorie burn including weights and exercise, and a 500 calorie deficit. Okay, so I guess it was a 500 calorie eating deficit, and then trying to get the extra 1,000 deficit by weights and exercise. So a 1,500 calorie daily deficit. And they said to me, any suggestions? And I probably erased my reply in text multiple times, which honestly, having conversations, and if it's something that you want to, if it's gonna be a meaningful conversation or something that could be high stakes or could be misinterpreted, don't text. Pick up the phone and call. But of course, I didn't follow my own advice. I sent a text, and it went fine. It was no problem at all. But the idea of it is, I said, I'm not interested in this crash diet that you're trying to do. I've known you for 20 years. You have yo-yoed in your weight up and down for the last 20 years. What we need to do is get to a place where you are making lifestyle changes, not these crash, crazy, fad diet things where you do something for a couple of weeks, lose the weight, and you just gain it right back. It just all comes back on because you haven't made the lifestyle changes. I want to see lifestyle change. That's what's going to work for you in the long run. And that's where this idea of long obedience in the same direction comes from. I heard this from a pastor years ago. It's probably one of the few things that has stuck with me. But you have to get to the place mentally. This has been the big change for me, is that you have to get to the place mentally where you're not making temporary changes in order to reach a goal. And then you're going to go back to the life that you've enjoyed for the last however many years. It's not going to work. I'm telling you from personal experience, it's not going to work. I will go as far as to say the old you has to die. And I don't mean physically die. I mean, you need the new identity that we've been talking about. The old you has to die. It's the new you's turn. I don't even know if that makes sense, but it made sense to me. You see, the old me, I ate whatever I want, whenever I wanted, as much as I wanted to. That's not healthy living. That's not sustainable. That's not going to maintain a healthy weight. Now, the new me, except for Friday night when I indulged in a dozen cookies and then another dozen this morning. One of these days. The new me, I eat to fuel my body with the right energy at the right time for maximal performance and peak efficiency. That sounds pretty darn good, doesn't it? Should I say that again? The new me eats to fuel my body with the right energy at the right time for maximal performance and peak efficiency. That's a very, very different lifestyle. That means I'm not going to Chick-fil-A, although I did this morning. Oh, this is so embarrassing. My actions aren't lining up with my values. I think that's what we call a hypocrite. Or it's real and we don't always live up to our values all the time, and it's okay as long as we correct and get back to it. But let me be real. This ain't easy. In fact, if you're anything like me, you might be feeling this sudden surge of emotions, this deep visceral reaction within you that, what do you mean I can't eat what I want to when I want to as much as I want to? What do you mean that I can't have ice cream, or I can't go to Dairy Queen, or I can't have chicken Alfredo, or I can't have my father's lasagna, or I can't have fill in the blank? What is your thing? What is that food that you love that just brings you so much comfort and joy? Macaroni and cheese. Oh, that's a good one. I love me some macaroni and cheese. No, we're not even talking about macaroni and cheese. Oh boy, that can open a can of worms. Whatever it is, whatever that food is, do you feel that? Do you feel a sense of loss as I'm talking about this? That if the old you has to die, if what you were doing has to go away, you can't do the same thing that you were doing. I promise you, you're going to put the weight back on. You have got to make a lifestyle change. Do you feel that sense of loss? I felt that time and time again. Like, you are taking something from me. It feels like almost like you are taking my baby. I don't have kids, so I don't know what that's like. Maybe like taking my dogs. Oh, you take my dogs, we're gonna fight. Like, ooh. As a friend of mine used to joke, man, you take one of my dogs, I might be doing prison ministry from the inside. Cause don't mess with my dogs. I love my dogs. Anyway, but if you might feel that sense of loss because there's deep emotional connections. And it took me a really long time to realize that, to admit it, and to talk about it. I remember poignantly sitting at fat camp. If you don't know what fat camp is, go back to episode 1 or 2. I talk about it. One of the first days was at fat camp. We were doing group therapy. And I'm sitting in the room with people, and they're talking about some of the challenges they're having, and they're crying. People are crying over not being able to eat macaroni and cheese anymore. And I'm sitting there judging. Oh, boy, was I judging, and I was judging hard. Like, what do you mean? Come on, you're giving up macaroni. Like, get real. Get real. This, folks, it's real. 10 years later, 12 years later, I get it. I get it. I get the reaction. There is a deep emotional connection. And it's hard. It is absolutely hard. It feels like something is being taken away from you. But the key is that enjoyment, that pleasure, that whatever it is that you feel, that emotional thing, if you are going to take it away, which we are, we're taking it away. We're changing our lifestyle. We are not going to eat the same way that we did. Well, then we need to find that emotion, that joy, that pleasure. We need to find it in something else. Whether it's working out, whether it's writing, whether it is connections with people, you fill in the blank. Let's not go down to another addiction route, drugs and alcohol or something like that. Let's try to keep the addiction stuff out of it. But what are we going to fill that emotional void that we're leaving? And you might even feel it in your body. As we're talking about this, if I'm telling you, look, you've got to change. You can't eat the same stuff you used to eat. You can't do it. Not allowed. Not gonna be allowed anymore. If you're gonna make this lifestyle change, you might feel it in your body. And you knew. And this is free. I learned this in therapy. You need to learn how your body reacts in those emotional states. You're gonna feel it somewhere in your body. So for me, my stomach kind of tenses up. Everything gets a little bit tight. And it feels like my body is kind of is going maybe into the fetal position or into a ball, into protection mode. It's like, no, you're not taking this away from me. You're not going to do it. It's a well-worn path. It is. But there's hope. There's hope. It actually can be done. And I'm seeing it in my life. I'm seeing it in action. Am I perfect? No, we've talked about it. I ate 2 dozen peanut butter cookies for celebrating that I've lost 3 pounds this week. It doesn't make sense. It continues to confound me. Man, I'm good. I am. Ugh. But you can do it. It is possible. Small changes, small incremental changes. We got on this topic by me talking about my friend who's trying to do a crash diet to drop 25 pounds quickly, which he could probably do. I'm sure he could probably do it. I have no doubt about that. But what's going to happen after the 25 pounds is off? If you haven't changed your life, what's going to happen? It's coming back on. And it's probably coming back on and then some. Because that tends to be how it works. So I've made small changes along the way. I didn't go whole hog on this. I've tried to go whole hog before. Maybe it's ironic that I'm saying whole hog as we're talking about food. I'm not talking about eating a whole pig, in case you were confused. But I made small changes along the way. And there's a term in the business world, or a phrase called letting the fires burn. That you're not going to have enough time in your day to pay attention to all the different fires. And you're going to have to choose which fires you're going to put out and which ones you're going to let burn. And so that's kind of the mentality, and I didn't know that I was doing this at the time, but as I look back on it, it's kind of the mentality that I took as I've been making these changes. So, for example, my breakfast over this year, when we first started out, I was doing eggs, scrambled eggs, or an omelet of some sort, and some kind of breakfast sausage, and or bacon. Not usually but usually an or with bacon. Although sometimes I had both sausage and bacon. And that was good enough for now. The sausage, probably not a great idea. Probably wasn't good. It was, it's high in sodium, it's high in fat, it's ultra processed, not healthy. I love sausage though, and it's super hard for me to give up. So I said, you know what? I'm going to let that fire burn. We're going to eat pork sausage in the morning, and we're going to be okay with it. For lunch, I usually had a sandwich of some sorts. For a long time, I was having a peanut butter and jelly sandwich or a ham and turkey sandwich, something like that. And I was having some protein chips. I think Quest was the name brand, if I remember correctly. Some high protein. Again, it wasn't perfect, but I was letting that fire burn because it wasn't terrible. It wasn't horrible. Or I would have some kind of leftovers from the night before if I had that. It was good enough. Dinner was where I was struggling. Because that was nighttime, that's when I was alone, that's when loneliness hurt the most. So that's when I really had to struggle. That was the hard change. And it still is a hard change. So what did I do? How did I make those changes? How to make those incremental changes, those small changes? So I started making casseroles for the week. I would make, I talked about this with a friend of mine last week. What is Becky's casserole? Becky's casserole was a chicken dish, which has brown rice, cream of mushroom, cream of chicken, Lipton onion soup. Again, it's not amazingly healthy, but it's not super unhealthy either. It's a heck of a lot better than the Sonic double cheeseburger or the chicken pad thai, the 2 servings of chicken pad thai, not 2 orders, as I said in a previous episode, 2 servings of chicken pad thai. What else did I used to get all the time? I would order chicken parmesan, so I'd get that with the pasta, or chicken Alfredo. I'd get 2 servings of, or I'd eat the whole thing. I don't know how many servings it was, but if you broke it down, it's probably multiple servings. So those were my dinners, and not healthy, not good. Or I'd order, whatever. So what did I do? So I started making like Becky's casserole as an example. Okay, that's a step in the right direction. It's not perfect. It's not a chicken breast and vegetables, but it does have chicken in it. It's got brown rice, and it's got some cream of mushroom, cream of chicken. Not terrible, right? Step in the right direction. What else did I do? I ate green bean casserole like it was going out of style. I love green bean casserole. I just do. I don't know why. It's fantastic. And it's always better after it's been sitting in the fridge for a day or two and you warm it up in the microwave. Oh, so good. So good. You know what? That was somewhat healthy. It wasn't, again, the fried onions, probably not, obviously not great. And the cream of mushroom soup in it, not great. There's a lot of sodium, stuff like that. But that was my bridge. That was my small change. That was, okay, I'm not eating out. I'm not, having all this crazy stuff. Let's make this small change. Sometimes I would also eat hot dogs. I would warm up a couple hot dogs plain. I wouldn't eat them with a bun, but I would have too many of them. I'd have 3 to 5 at a time. Not good, but I was avoiding eating pasta. That messes with my blood sugar. So, again, these small incremental changes. Also, kielbasa. I ate kielbasa all the time. Not great. Again, not perfect, but we're talking about this long obedience in the same direction. In order to do that, it can't be wholesale changes all the time. Now, look, if you can do that, more power to you. Fantastic. Most people that I know can't do it. So these small changes have been sustainable. I'm talking about, this has been the last 6 to 8 months of these small changes. And you know what's happened? I'm not yo-yoing in my weight. Now I fluctuate between 5 to 10 pounds maybe 5 to 8, maybe not 10. That seems like a lot, but I fluctuate because weight does fluctuate. But by and large, I'm on the steady trajectory of losing. I'm not gaining. I'm not going wee roller coaster. Not the roller coaster I want to be on. But it's this idea of long obedience in the same direction. This long discipline. This continued consistency. This discipline. And it's not temporary. It can't be a temporary thing. If it's temporary, you're going to put the weight back on. I promise you. I promise you, mark my words. If you're just making temporary changes, you're going to put the weight back on. And I know it's hard to hear. I know it's hard. There's a visceral reaction. You feel it. I know you feel it. It's in your body. You're tensing up. What do you mean I can't have this? What do you mean you're taking something from me? Don't worry. You can get through that. That feeling is temporary, and you can work through it. And we're not going to do it all at once. We're not going to take everything away. We're not going to take everything away at once. We're going to make small changes. I mentioned that my breakfast, for example, was sausage and eggs or sausage and bacon. And you know what I've done recently now is I've transitioned from eating sausage. I made a 2-stage transition. One was from pork sausage to turkey sausage. A little bit better, right? A little bit better. But I'm trying to get away from the processed food. So what I do, I said, okay, well, instead of having sausage, I'm going to up the number of eggs that I'm eating, and I'm going to add fruit. So I've been getting pineapple or watermelon or an apple or something like that, and eating that in the morning with my eggs. And then even more recently, which I think maybe is what's helped me break my plateau a bit, is I added egg whites into the mix. So instead of having 6 scrambled eggs, because I'm trying to get all that protein, I had three real eggs and a cup of egg whites. And it's been great. I barely tell the difference. It's fantastic. And I feel great after doing it. And for lunches, I've been making them just a little bit better. I've had chicken, and usually it's some kind of chicken and a vegetable. Like, it's happening. Slowly, it's happening. These small micro changes that are making big results. Super fantastic. All right, folks, time to wrap up the podcast with Aim for Better. What am I going to do this coming week to be a little bit better than I was this past week? So I did cardio once last week. So my goal this coming week is going to do twice. Let's do a cardio session twice this week. I have considered walking at night. I still want to do that. I'm going to keep that on the list. And my other thing is going to be find a new celebration for weight loss successes. Because eating cookies or some kind of dessert isn't the right celebration. Let's fix that post haste, el pronto, stat, whatever else phrase we can use. Gotta fix it. So, anyway, thank you again. Thanks for joining me. We went over a lot of stuff today. We talked about some of the good things. We talked about the bad things. We talked about the challenging things. We talked about things that hopefully are going to be normalized in terms of food and food addiction and eating food. Thank you so much for the journey, or being along for the journey. Again, if you like this, please drop me a like. Hit the subscribe button. That helps me out a lot. Tell a friend. Would you please tell a friend about the podcast or somebody that might benefit from it. And I would love to hear from you. How are things going with you? Drop me a comment. Let me know. Until next time, let's make our lives better today so that tomorrow might be just a little bit better. Have a great one.